Bum, 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 bum. I'm Liam, that's Rob, and this week on the Hey Goes podcast, we take a look back at Steven Spielberg's E.T. for Grown-Ups, 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a movie that combines wonder and amazement with fear and dread better than any movie I can think of. Still, while its truly amazing score and surprisingly effective visuals remain as effective as ever, the unique structure and pacing make this a movie that will likely split audiences in 2025. And seeing that I still love this movie, Rob, are you going to take up the other side of this argument and shit on yet another movie that was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry, one that the United States Library of Congress deems culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant? The other, of course, being The Sandlot.
So I'm not. I mean, harsh criticism coming towards me before I've even opened my mouth. No,
Of course,
I'm
of
not.
course.
I'm not going to shit on this film,
No, no.
but
Mhm.
Stephen King can't make alien films. E.T. hated it,
Stephen
and
King.
you know that. Stephen King, Stephen fucking Spielberg. Sorry.
That,
Uh,
that is that seems like a weird slip of the tongue. We were admittedly talking about Stephen King right before we
yeah,
started this
yeah.
podcast, so that's understandable.
Steven Spielberg can't make alien films. E.T. couldn't stand it, and for this film, I nearly turned it off and told you we were vetoing this episode. I'm honest. It got saved towards the end, but
Hmm.
man, and it's not the fact that it was terrible,
Hmm.
it was just dull.
Hmm.
It's just boring. There's nothing really happening in it. There's too many people running around talking about aliens or trying to forget like oh no, you didn't see an alien, it's fine. They're giving too much power to the government, which I know is a weird thing to say, but then all of a sudden you think, oh, the Americans just want to do it their way. But the leader of everything is a French guy. It's just,
Hmm.
it's very, yeah. I don't know. I didn't get on with this film largely. I mean, it was saved by a couple of things, but there's a couple of choices as well that I just thought, what's going on? Which we will get into, obviously.
Hmm.
But no, I'm not going to shit on this film. But I mean, watching this film as a 42-year-old man, totally missing it when I grew up. It's not for me, mate. Honestly, it's not
Hmm.
for me. I mean, it's better than ET, but fucking hell, so's a wet fart. Like this
Oh,
is
jeez. I mean, you say, I mean, you're not going to shit on then you shit on the beloved ET.
no,
Well,
no, no.
ET,
I'm not. You
ET,
told me not to shit on this film. I'm not shitting on this film, but I've
you're shitting
already
on
fucking
ET.
taken a massive dump on ET because I couldn't stand it. Just say goodbye and leave. Just fucking say goodbye and leave.
ET's a weird one because we are both in a similar situation so much that like neither of us had an attachment to that growing up. And I go as far as say I actively didn't enjoy E.T. growing up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we rewatched it for the podcast and we both have very different opinions. I thought E.T. was actually a bit of a masterpiece, and it took me until my 40s to finally get it. And then we both had a similar kind of situation with Jaws, in so much that we both liked it when we were younger, but we weren't like these kind of like Jaws aficionados. And then we watched it, for the podcast, and we both absolutely adored it. That was the one we absolutely agreed on. This one, I had like mixed feelings about this growing up, and a part of it is because it is aimed for adults largely, and it is a much slower film. This is, we've talked about this before, the difference between 70s and 80s movies. This is pacing wise definitively a 70s movie, not just the way it's shot, but the way it's structured and everything else. And going into it, I thought I was going to have a similar issue with the pacing, and so this idea that it was going to be really slow. I actually think rather than it being slow pacing, it's just odd pacing. This film is oddly structured. It's, if anything, it's kind of like one long, albeit brilliant first act. It's like the whole movie is like purposefully messy. And for the first act and the third act, I'm totally on board. I know you said, you didn't get on it with it for large portions of it, but I loved the opening 30 minutes. I absolutely adore the last 30 minutes. It does get messy in the middle. And one of the other issues, you already mentioned it there, is that it's a, when I refer to this as being messy, it like, I get it. They're trying to kind of convey the sense that, oh, First Contact is going to be a kind of messy or borderline fumbled affair. But you've got like this split between the scientists, the military, the government officials, and obviously a handful of Americans. And everything outside of Roy Neary's narrative feels somewhat muddled. And you bring up Francois Truffaut's character, the famous Frenchman of the film. Oh God, what's his name? I forgot his name. The character's name, ridiculous. But Lacan. Like when you see the film, I don't think they explain his role very well. He's just
He
like a
just
random French dude.
he just rocks up in a dust storm. He's talking to the cartographer who's now become his personal translator,
Hmm.
and there's no explanation with anything of that. And look, before you get too much into trying to defend this film because you think I'm going to attack every bit of it, I
No, no,
do.
no.
No, no, no.
Just
So I will because we have history on this. I tell you a film was shit, all of a sudden, then there's an hour of you yelling at me, and I'm not allowed to back it up. So I'm just going to go into right some of the things that I noted down, which were I actually enjoyed from, or not so much enjoyed, but I think were good about this film. So, I mean, the acting performances. Uh, a bunch of them bring in some emotional weight to the film. I think Richard Dreyfuss capturing Roy's descent into the obsession with manic charm. I think he's doing brilliant. His decisions, on the other hand, are something that we're going to talk about. Melinda Dillon delivers that raw maternal fear, especially during Barry's abduction. I loved Barry's abduction, not because
yeah,
they
it's great
kidnapped
scene.
the kid, but because that entire scene is just it's like so dramatic. But what they can do with torches shining through things and things like that, just bringing some emotional depth to something that it's terrifying anyway. Francois Truffaut, his quiet gravitas, the calm and curious scientist, I think is great. Like it's not traditional. Like scientist in charge fare for these films, which is
Mhm.
always the guy I want answers and I'm gonna like well, I've been watching Stranger Things lately, and
Mhm.
Matthew, what was it Modine? Matthew
Mhm.
Modine's season one, like his kind of scientist from the 80s and the 70s. They decide
Mhm.
like I don't care about murdering kids. I don't care about all this crap. So it was nice to see a different, a gentler side of it. I just
Well,
want
yeah, you
to
kind of
make
think
contact.
it's
Yeah,
you think it's going to be in the post because Spielberg's got a long history of kind of mistrust of the military and politicians
yeah,
and certainly people in suits. I think he kind of moves away from that in this film because he has a bit of everything. There are elements, as you say, where the narrative shifts to the military, and
and yeah.
that's
So
all kind of like a little underhanded, but it doesn't have a face attached to it in the same
no,
way.
and the cover up it like adds that tension and satire,
Hmm.
but that's towards the end, and like how they think just saying a train derailment is going to stop everybody from going towards Devil's Mountain is beyond me, but that's fine. What I do think, like the theme of this story, though, that gives us the obsession versus purpose. His Roy's journey, like raising the questions about his sacrifice and his personal truth. I think that's handled for the most part quite well. But again,
Hmm.
the decisions he makes kind of is absolutely insane. And I will give you this. You did a very, I mean, beautiful quote at the beginning, if you can call it a quote. The five-note sequence that's both a plot device and becomes a pop culture legend. I knew that tone without even ever seeing this film,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it feels like, and I think we will, I say feels like, I think I remember reading this in fact, they had the tone before the film. So the film was kind of written around the tone, which is quite interesting.
Well,
Uh,
bizarrely, they like
and the
supposed. Oh,
fact that
sorry,
the
go for it.
sound, sorry, just one more thing for me.
Nice.
The sound building suspense. So like Barry's abduction to the mothership's arrival, all sound. So I think what I've tried to do with this is not what I usually do. Is when I say a film is shit, I couldn't get on with it. Uh, I just keep going. But what I've tried to do is take a page out of your book, which I think has thrown you off guard a little bit, and say, well, this is actually what I found was quite good about this. Uh, it's still boring. I'll give you that, but even the use of light and color, evoking the awe and mystery,
Hmm.
uh, is done really well.
Yeah, well, I think it is one of those films that, and as I said, for, as much as I enjoy this movie, I do totally get where you're coming from because I think it is one of those films you can absolutely appreciate and still not enjoy. Now, I was just out of interest, I was looking up the kind of list of Spielberg's greatest movies, and this is usually around like kind of six or seven. I'm not sure if I'd have it quite in the top five. So the usual five are kind of like Raiders, Jaws, Schindler's List. I know you don't want to hear it, but E.T. is usually up there. And this
Yeah, yeah,
usually
yeah.
sits somewhere along the lines of kind of Saving Private Ryan. But it wasn't Universal. I think it was Vanity Fair had this right down the bottom, like down at 27. They said, listen, we appreciate this is probably sacrilegious, but have you watched this film recently? And they're like, it's a slow film. And even Spielberg said he has issues going back to it now with the decision he made at the end, Roy Neary's decision to basically, without giving it a second thought, leave his kids and his
Thank
wife
you.
behind.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I was skirting around because I knew we
Mhm.
were going to get into it, but the fact that he just up and like I know like he's got some obsession going on, but fucking hell, he's got 4 kids, or is it three? Two
I think
boys and a girl?
I
No,
think it's three boys and a girl. I think it is
yeah, three boys
four.
and a girl. So he's got 4 kids
Hmm.
and a missus, and the last conversation he has with them is the
Hmm.
fact that
Hmm.
she's saying she's not coming back for a while. And he's done. He hasn't left them a note. He hasn't made a phone call. He's literally just turned around and said, "Do you want to jump on a spaceship?" Fuck yeah, do I? Have you got any family
Yeah.
that cares about you? No, fuck them. Like
I listen,
Jesus
like
Christ.
I almost get him kind of getting on the ship, and of course, you're a father. I'm not. I don't have that kind of same attachment. I do have a wife. I'm sure she'd be very upset to hear this. Given his obsession, I don't. I'm not totally against the idea of him going onto the ship, but they never have a scene where he is conflicted. You think, oh, maybe you'll have one scene where maybe he'll look back and be like, "Fuck, am I making the right choice?" No, he is standing there front and center, like, guys. I'm ready. I am ready to jump on the ship. Fuck the kids. Fuck the wife. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say fuck the wife, Ronnie, I kind of get that. She is the complete opposite of a ride or die bitch. Like, even from like those very early moments when he comes back and half his face is burnt, she is clearly of the mindset. It's just like, Roy, don't make a big deal out of this. She doesn't want to be embarrassed in front of the neighbors.
Oh,
That's her kind of general overriding character arc.
she was ready to quit him straight away because even at the beginning, the introduction to Roy, he's
Hmm.
messing with his trains on the table. He's
Hmm.
talking to him like full bore, and he is not answering it at all. Why is all your shit on my table? Why do you keep collecting this shit? I've got a tetanus.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying attention to the kid who's climbed in the playpen and just beat the shit out of the little girl's doll. They all want to play
Yeah.
crazy golf, but he wants them to watch Pinocchio.
It's not the happiest home
Oh,
life of
dude,
all time,
he's
but
fuck.
but it's something he actually does brilliantly well. And if we bring it back, I think it was one of the few things we agreed on when it came to ET was that opening sequence when you just had all the kids in the house and they
Yeah.
captured the mayhem of just a home life when you've just got loads of kids in the house. And it's something he's done wonderfully in this as
Oh,
well. It
yeah.
just sounds like fucking mayhem and nothing's really happening. It's just kids being kids, basically.
Having having one, let alone four,
Mm.
right? I picked my kid up from school on Monday, and we're walking back home because he had Lego Club, so he's finished that later. And by the time I got home on this 10-minute walk,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
turned around to my wife and said, "When is he going to his swimming lessons?" Because on the 10-minute walk home, he has punched me in the dick, he has kicked me in the leg, he has pulled my fingers because he was just wound up, pent up, and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
so
Well, that's the
excited. And he's
thing,
just swinging around. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this
and
kid.
and it's something that he captures wonderfully well. And this, without kind of going over the top, you get the idea that they're kind of married, but maybe the relationship, their lives haven't gone the way they wanted. The whole point of Richard Dreyfuss' character as Roy is that he's very much playing a working class suburban man kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I thought maybe in the middle of the film would have benefited if they had kind of put the emphasis more on his relationship with Ronnie. So obviously they hint around it, but I never really cared about their relationship. And I thought that was one of the biggest problems with the movie. It's like it's too busy. Like, oh, we're gonna jump over here now. They're gonna like as great
Yeah.
as say oh, what's her name? Jesus Christ.
Terry was it? Oh
Gillian,
no,
sorry.
Terry Gar was Ronnie. Gillian, yeah.
Gillian and Barry are.
Mm.
I think there's another version of this movie where you combine the Gillian and Barry narrative with Roy's and just
Well,
make it one story
yeah,
because
to be
all of a
fair, I
sudden
think
you've
once
got those two stories plus everything else going on, and I can see why he's done it, but it feels like a lot.
I do think once Barry is gone, then maybe Gillian teams up with Ronnie and Roy,
Mhm.
and it all becomes one kind of thing, trying to find out what's happened with Barry.
Even
But
that
this
kind of
whole,
gets pushed to the back. Did you find
yeah,
just sorry,
exactly.
just what you mentioned that? I actually forgot when they suddenly went down to the ship at the end and suddenly the doors open and you see little Barry running out. I was like, I forgot Barry got kidnapped.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, because
like she didn't seem fussed on it.
no, because again, and she's having the same visions as well. They're all being invited to Devil's
Mhm.
Tower or wherever it is, and but she doesn't mention Barry after the whole press conference where it was. She was saying, "Oh, they took him. I'm going to find him," and she did. She left, but then
Mhm.
the scientists or whoever it was, the government, whoever it was, had that open forum where
Mhm. Mhm.
everybody was in there talking about what they saw, and then they're
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
right, you've and that was a good point. I did love that. There was two random things in this that both made me laugh,
Mhm.
for different reasons. When the government guy was trying to turn around and go, millions of you have taken photos. We never get a clear image. And the cameraman or the news guy turned around and said, "Yeah, we talk about bank robberies every day. I've never taken a picture of a bank robbery." I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
But then the proper squirrel moment where they're all talking, this guy just turns around and goes, "I saw Bigfoot once."
I love
What?
that sequence because you see Roy's heart sink because obviously he's trying to have a serious conversation. Like, listen, look, and again, the whole idea where Ronnie is just being so dismissive. She's in that room with all those people. All those people are saying the exact same thing. We saw something.
Yeah.
But Ronnie is like the military guy. She doesn't want to believe this and she wants to be dismissive about it. And of course, all the ammunition she needs is the fucking country bumpkin who just out of the blue says, "I saw Bigfoot once." And he, like, Richard Dreyfuss just sitting in the corner like, fuck. Don't say that. You've just undermined our whole life. We're finished. This whole conversation is finished because they think we're all fucking country bumpkins now and we're all psychos just seeing lights in the sky. But yeah, Bromley, she, like, for the most part, like, you have that early scene in the film where they go back up to the ridge where they see the lights originally, and that she's like, "Oh, don't you realize I'm taking this quite well?" And you're like, "Okay, I can kind of see a point." And then when they have that breakdown and she wants no part of it, I mean, in fairness, she's really good at picking a lock. I'll give her that. But when she goes into the bathroom, then she can see her husband's clearly having a mental breakdown, and she's just like, "You're just the worst." It's just like, "I'll give him a chance."
To be fair, mind, she did apologize for that the next day because she was having a bit of a thing. But then he's fucking. We need rubbish. Like, what I love, he fought that rubbish man for the rubbish. So I thought he wanted the bin. So let him just tip the rubbish. I did. Why did he tip the rubbish? Just let him do his job for 5 seconds.
And
you
then
can
just
have
take
the empty
rubbish.
bin. And why he has a front door, why he chose to throw everything through the kitchen window is insane.
That's when he lost me, to be honest. I was Team Roy the whole time. I'm like, listen, she's a bitch. She's not giving him a chance. And then as soon as he starts throwing stuff through the window, making a mess in the kitchen. And let's be clear, it's the middle of the summer in Indiana. You can do this outside. You don't need to do this in the fucking living room. And he lost me then, if truth be told. I'm a bit of a clean freak. And once he starts throwing stuff into the kitchen, I'm just like, oh, dude, like, I would leave you if I was in her position. You absolute fucking psychopath. But I love, like you said, like, she's like, she wakes up, she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And you think he's like back, he's kind of come to his senses. It lasts all of about 25 seconds, and then he completely goes off the deep end.
And Gillian's already proved, right, that you don't have to be that much of an asshole.
She just draws.
She drew, and he's already proven he's a good drawer because the first thing he does is his UFO sketch to be. She's already proven he can do it. Why he needs? All right, I get the mashed potatoes maybe, and the dirt he was doing with Barry at the beginning, but that fucking monument that he builds in his house, that's a step too far.
Got to mention the mashed potato sequence while we're on it. This is going to be Liam's take. So usually we will have a Rob take where you pick out something random. This feels like maybe my equivalent of that. So I'm watching the sequence. I'm like, it's shot really well. It's one of I'm not sure if you notice how many fucking split diopters are in this film. I get the idea. He's trying to put everyone in the frame together, but it almost felt like a Brian De Palma movie at times. But when he's making the mashed potato, all I could kind of concentrate on was the gigantic bowl of mashed potato. I was like, there must have been about 72 potatoes. And don't get me wrong, when we were younger, our parents used to make just outrageously large meals. But even by 70s/80s standards, that was the most potato I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Makes me think of Benny from Total Recall. Shit, I got
five
kids to feed.
Yeah. We're expecting
I was thinking, well, I'll give you that with the mashed potato. Like, that bowl was huge. I wanted to, before we go off Roy, and this may be a bit controversial, but I'm going with it anyway. I've come up with a deadbeat dad derby or derby.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah. So I've got 5 contenders, and I want to know who we would class as the worst deadbeat dad of cinema history.
Okay. Well, straight away, this is interesting with Roy because I'm like, is he deadbeat? Like, he is deadbeat by the end because he bounces, like, he goes properly like, oh, I went out for cigarettes and just never comes back. But I don't know. But go.
So I've got these, like, I haven't got big explanations from all. I've got them in, like, pretty bullet pointed. But I'm going to start with Roy. Okay, boards a spaceship, leaves his family behind. No goodbye, just mashed potatoes and vibes. He's fucked. He's gone.
That's tough. That is tough. Yeah.
Jack Torrance, The Shining, brings his family to a haunted hotel, tries to murder him. He's just peak absentee energy. He may have been taken over a bit, but
he had already abused his child even before getting to the hotel. So I think Jack Torrance is definitely worse than Roy, but he does stick around. Okay, he tries to kill him, but he sticks around. Sure.
Henry Jones Sr. He's obsessed with the Grail. He forgets he has a son until the Nazis show up.
Yeah. That's a good shout. It's a good shout.
Peter Banning from Hook. He misses his kids' lives chasing corporate success. He needs a trip to Neverland to remember how to be a dad.
He's gone big on Spielberg. On Spielberg.
Yeah.
Number 5, The Fabelmans, Spielberg's old man.
Cooper from this is controversial. Cooper from Interstellar. He leaves Earth to save humanity, but he pretty much doses his daughter for decades. This time dilation is a hell of a parenting excuse.
That is very, very harsh, that one. To say the least. I think Jack Torrance wins by default, but it's interesting you mentioned time dilation, and this does mean I'm jumping around a bit, so I'm going right to the end.
That's okay.
How long do you think the soldiers are gone by their, in terms of how they're fit? Because obviously they didn't age.
So sorry, we're saying Jack has won the deadbeat derby.
Yeah. He did. We can make arguments for the others, but he did try and actively merge his family. So I think he wins.
Okay.
I just got caught up on Interstellar. But so the closer you travel to the speed of light, distances shrink and time contracts, the whole dilation per relativity and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And the time that is passed is wildly different to those observing the ship versus those on the ship. So all the people who get off the ship at the end, the guys from like World War II and everything, and even Barry himself, none of them have aged. So do you think, as far as they're concerned, they've literally just popped up on the ship? They've given them basically what would account to a theme park ride. They just shoot them across the galaxy at near enough light speed, send them back. As far as they're concerned, a minute or two's passed, but for everyone else, obviously, what was it? 35 years has passed. That could be the case. I don't think it's explained, but I guess that.
But that's what I was led to believe. I was led to believe, because they haven't aged or anything like that, that no time has passed for them. That's where I was led to believe. Like Barry didn't even. Barry comes out straight away, starts talking to his mum, and says, "Did you see me? I saw the house from when I was flying, or I saw you from when I was flying." That's the last thing Barry has on his mind. I saw you when I was flying. So Barry's gone up in the thing. All of a sudden, some random guy is holding his hand off the ramp.
I just think it's probably like a really short time for them. Like they'll come off, and I know the soldiers look like a little bit bemused, but they're just like, well, I was just up on a fucking spaceship. That's
maybe short time, but I really felt for them. Like they're coming off, and it's like, oh, by the way, anyone you ever loved, gone. You might have a great granddaughter by now. Can you go out and get a job? After we probe you for a while, now go and get a job, because now you're not old or anything. You still have to live your 30, 40, 50 years of life. So go on.
Well, that's the problem with, if we're going based on the rules of relativity, it's like the whole idea that if you could travel, say, close or even the speed of light, you could travel to the Andromeda galaxy, our nearest galaxy, in a very short period of time, because not just time gets dilated, but distances get reduced as well. The only problem is it get accelerated at our side the faster you go. So if you went there in a few hours, hundreds of millions of years would have passed on Earth. So it's just like, you can go, but just don't expect anyone to be there when you come back. So I like the idea that they literally went up for a minute, when this great ride, they come back and most of your friends and family are dead. Sorry, guys.
I'm not sure as well how comfortable I feel getting on that ship, because first of all, you have that weird Stephen King, it's monster thing that opens the doors.
Oh, you mean the one that came directly from the set? I know it was in the future, but it came directly from the set of The Thing.
Yeah.
The first one's so weird. It's so weird.
And this may just be me, with my weird takes, but then you get all those little aliens that give off proper alien probe rapey vibes. They've picked Roy as their sacrificial lamb, and he's getting it. I know, but what I loved as well, they didn't even tell, the film doesn't tell you that they planned for people to, it was some sort of exchange.
No, they don't. Like you see, they're all suited out, and they're all
and they've all got glasses, except Roy, who's got a shit-eating grin on his face, thinking, "Fuck me, I no longer have 5 mouths to feed."
Oh, thank God! Thank God! And I hate those kids, man.
And he's so happy, and then you got all these guys who've probably trained for this since they've known about it. Mm-hmm. And all the little rapey aliens pass him and go, no, Roy's our bitch. We'll grab Roy and we'll take him.
It's okay. We can kind of, I guess, diffuse the whole rapey alien thing. Those were all played by, I think it was like 56-year-old girls. Sorry, not 56-year-old girls. 56-year-old girls. So they all had to be girls because Spielberg thought that they moved with more grace than boys. And as the father of a son who is your son 5 or 6?
He's 6. He's 6.
I assume he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not rich in the way of grace at this age. So there's a reason
he's
that
rich.
he chose
He's
girls.
rich in the way of kamikaze. Is my kid?
Well, you
It's
could you like put it this way. Say you have that scene, and you've got all those little girls in alien suits, like leading Roy onto the spaceship. If your kid was in one of those space, like
you'd know him.
yeah, you would know.
You'd see. You'd know exactly.
You'd be the one punching him in the dick.
Yeah, it's either that or he's the one running around in circles somewhere else while they're all trying to grab the. Yeah, you know who he is.
What's this fucking kid doing?
Yeah.
But like that, what's brilliant about that sequence and brilliant, I think, about the whole film and what really makes it work is, and you mentioned it earlier, is the soundtrack from John Williams. Now, we've already mentioned those kind of magical 5 notes, which Williams created 300 5-note variants for this film. Like you said, before the film was even released, and Spielberg just picked one. He chose wisely. But when people think of John Williams, you think, oh, but he created the most famous 2 notes in movie history with Jaws, like bum 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 bum. I would say this is the most famous 5 notes without question. And if anything, I actually think these 5 notes are more important to this movie than those 2 notes are to Jaws, because even though as iconic as they are, I feel like those 5 notes really kind of sell not only the theme of the movie, but the kind of the plans, whatever you want to call it, the kind of intentions of the aliens themselves, and even the interactions between humans and aliens. There's never really that kind of like, usually with these kind of films, you have that moment with the military or whatever, where you're just like, well, what are we going to do with these aliens? Are we going to shoot on them? What happens if they attack us? It's all very positive. It's all based on wonderment. But the other thing that the score does so wonderfully is that it combines that wonderment with genuine horror. And that is the fundamental difference between this and E.T. Because it's from a kid's perspective, E.T. is all wide-eyed wonderment. This still has wide-eyed wonderment, but it also has very real adult fears that would come with anything along these lines. Yeah. And of course, you already mentioned the scene which maybe encapsulates that greater than any other is the scene at Barry and Gillian's house.
Yeah, the kidnapping or the abduction or whatever. Yeah.
That whole sequence is shot like a fucking horror movie. It's shot like a horror film.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when Barry goes to the door, and Spielberg has said, I think he kind of said it was maybe his favorite shot that he's ever filmed of his whole career. When he goes to the door and you have the red light pouring through, it's so iconic, so beautifully shot. The score both tells you that this is super dangerous, but still maintains that sense of wonderment, because Gillian is bricking herself. She's like, "Oh my God, you're abducting my child." But of course, you get Barry at the door who turns around. He can't fucking wait to go.
He just wants to play. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I think the score captures both ends of that spectrum so well. And I think tonally, the score does so much heavy lifting for this film.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The score as well gives us, like, when the most patient aliens I've ever seen in a film, when they're teaching them their language, their rudimentary tone language, after the batteries not included aliens come.
That's exactly what they are. I had the same thing written down. That's exactly what they are.
After they come and then fuck off, and then the big mothership comes. Why it needs to be upside down to start with, don't know. It comes in upside down. All the aliens are on their heads, and then it swifts. That's fine. And then it's all guesswork. This entire film is guesswork. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, the beginning, like the rest of this film, I thought was boring. I was going to turn it off, but as it got to the end, it was starting to get more interesting for me. But it was all guess. Like, they're just shooting tones back and forth, and they're going, "Oh yeah, they're trying to teach us rudimentary language. They're trying to teach us language, this tone language, so we can talk to each other." And they must have been there for fucking hours just playing the keyboard. In the end, that fucking guy probably turned into Beethoven.
Well, it basically becomes a jazz medley, briefly. It really does. Like, to come back to that criticism, it really is, I guess the biggest issue is because it has so many plates spinning, it doesn't spend enough time, like you said earlier, it doesn't spend enough time differentiating the government from the military, from the scientists, from what I assume is the United Nations. And in particular, we did mention earlier, but Truffaut. So with Francois Truffaut, I thought it was literally like, Spielberg just wants him to be in this because he's like the face of French New Wave and he wants a famous director in it. And this is already a relatively long film. By having Truffaut in it, make no mistake, it adds 10 minutes to this film just because David Laughlin, played by Bob Balaban, who I didn't notice that was him initially. I just know him as like the Wes Anderson.
When I saw it was him, I was like, fuck me. Like, it's true what they say, a beard does a lot.
Totally does. Totally. He looks. If you see him now, you know exactly who we mean. He's one like if I told you the films he's in, other than the Wes Anderson films, even if I told you those, you'd be like, I don't know who you're necessarily talking about. But if you saw him, you know exactly who he is, and you'll probably be surprised that he's playing David Loughlin in this film as the Interpreter Stash cartographer, just because he has a scene with a map. Sure,
Yeah.
we'll allow it. But Truffaut, he is based on a real life UFO researcher, Jacques Vallée, who was like, so he hasn't just dropped out of the sky. He did want a Frenchman. And as I said, it does slow the film down a little bit. I think if you have an English speaking, like, he could have just as easily found a French actor who could also speak English.
Yeah.
And this film knocks 10 minutes off. He obviously still was just like, I want Francois in this film. And he got his man, fair enough, whatever.
Yeah, because
but all that stuff with him
thing...
leading the government's efforts and, leading the government's efforts to communicate with music. I kind of get it. It's poorly explained. It totally is.
No, it is completely poorly explained. Because when you get that government meeting where they're showing them the hand signals.
Yeah.
Where did they fucking learn about the hand signals to start with? What were the hand signals didn't seem to mean anything. They had that where they've all got the torches on the thing, and he's going, "We do this and this and this." Sorry, it's obviously a podcast. Nobody can see me moving the hands.
Yeah.
But then it goes to the end, and they're doing the tones, and then just out of the blue, just fucking Truffaut. Sorry, what was it?
Truffaut. Francois
Truffaut. Truffaut just does it all of a sudden, and then nothing happens with it. The other thing where I thought my mind is.
So I thought, same as you, I thought they were going to have a bit where, like, when he's doing the hand signals, it was almost going to be like Morse code, like this means this. But instead, they just do the tones and then he does the hand signals. I was just like, all right, it looks kind of cool. And you get the scene with the third kind of alien at the end. And I'm just like, all right. But I don't think it added a huge amount.
The other thing that I went nowhere, and I must have blinked and missed this. I honestly think I shut down for a minute because when they escape,
you should put that on the poster. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 2 stars. It briefly made me shut down.
Well, when Gillian, fuck me, I'm forgetting all these names now. It was Gillian. When Roy and Gillian escaped the helicopter with their friend, who I think was Larry.
Useless fucking Larry, yeah.
Yeah, useless Larry. All of a sudden, he's like the third party of this crew. That's great. But when they go down, when they're watching the thing, Larry's where the fuck is Larry? Did I miss something? What happened to Larry?
Yeah, you missed something. So Larry, the only reason Larry is in this is to prove that I don't know what the fuck whatever it's called, the sleeping powder that the helicopter's dropping.
I saw him go to sleep. It was the helicopter shit. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, he's out of puff. They've kind of run ahead, and he's like stopping for a second because he tries to climb up this tiny little incline, slips a bit, decides to have a breather, and they're like, "Oh, duck Larry," and he's like, "Oh no, they're just crop dusting," because Larry's also a moron. And then, they have the scene where he's like kind of buzzing out because they've drugged him. So he is there literally. And I think it's because aesthetically, when you see the helicopter go past and a little bit of smoke coming out, and of course, it's a huge mountain, just like, would this really work? I think he's just there to say, oh, no, this would, in this universe, this would work. So Larry is useless for a reason, at least. But
I had a giggle when I figured out who Larry was. Do you know who Larry is?
No.
Joseph Sommer. So we've seen him in. We haven't seen him on his podcast in loads of things.
Mm-hmm.
He's in like as the older guy. He's in like loads of films that we would have seen.
Mm-hmm.
But he's fucking Ducksworth.
Ducksworth
from Mighty Ducks.
Oh my god, that's a great shout! No, I didn't notice that at all. I'm hoping you can't hear growling. Sorry, I hope you can't hear growling in the background. My cats are being absolute fucking douchebags.
No, it's good. No, absolutely. But he's Ducksworth.
This film does have a few famous faces, and the interesting thing is, we watched 2 slightly different versions of this film. So I watched the director's cut, and I think you watched the theatrical cut because
2 hours and 18. Mine was.
Mine was 2. Oh, you probably watched the special edition then, because that one was quite long as well. But because basically the director's cut is a combination of the special edition, the theatrical cut, and basically what it cuts out is the interior of the ship. So did you see the interior of the ship at the end?
I did not know.
Oh no! In that case, I think you did see the theatrical cut. But anyway, what your version had, which mine didn't. So at the end of the film, I spotted a relatively famous face. I was like, "Oh, did you spot the famous face at the end of the film?" And you sent me a picture of Carl Weathers, and I was just like, does he just like Carl Weathers? I didn't see Carl Weathers in this film because I don't think he's in the director's cut. Lance Henriksen is. That was the face I noticed. But yeah, there is a scene where he actually has a speaking part, right?
He's one of the military guys, so he's just talking to the general and says so and so's on the phone or something like that. Yeah, but I just thought, Apollo Creed was in this film, and then you turned around to me and said no, and I'm Yes, he was. And
Yes,
then
he was.
you sent me a picture of Lance Henriksen in this film, and for a start, fuck me, what a young Lance Henriksen!
He looks so
Like
much, and it's not. How long is it before Aliens? It's a good 10 years out. No, it's probably 9 years. But yeah, he
Aliens.
he
Aliens
ages.
was 86, 87. Yeah, so we have 10.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
about nine
he
years.
has aged a lot, but life
Mhm.
hasn't beat that poor bastard down yet.
No, no,
Was
no.
it before or after Pumpkinhead? Aliens. When was Pumpkinhead?
Pumpkinhead was 80. Oh God, I don't know now. 80, around the same time, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was late 80s.
Yeah, it was late 80s. I couldn't tell you
88.
these.
So it was
88,
after
yes.
Aliens. It was after
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aliens was 86, right?
Hang on. Yeah, I think so. Hang on.
Yeah. See, we're just saying dates now.
86.
There we
86,
go.
yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
glad I was right. That's all.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there are a few like little, like you said, it was just because Lance Henriksen didn't say anything. But it's weird because when you see the sequence, it's basically when they're all getting on the ship at the end, and everyone's doing it's the classic. And this movie really does nail the Spielberg reaction shots. For those who don't know, it's one of his like kind of finest cinematic tricks. Rather than showing you what's happening, he shows you the reactions of the people seeing it happen, and that sense of wonderment he captures maybe better than any other director. And he does that right at the end of the film. And he's kind of panning along the crowd of scientists looking up at the ship. And the camera really does just hold onto Lance Henriksen for a second and just say, guys, check it out. Lance Henriksen. It doesn't just sweep past him, it stops on him, but he doesn't play a part for the rest of the film. It's very strange. But
The other question I had, speaking of strange, how many electronic toys in 1977 does a baby have in their room?
he has creepy ones. Toys in the
Yeah,
70s were just fucking
yeah.
creepy.
I
He has
appreciate they were creepy. You, the dancing
little
monkey.
fucking that dancing monkey's the
yeah.
worst, man. I mean,
The
Stephen
dancing
King
monkey.
made a horror about it.
The fucking Stephen King again. We can't get away from him
Can't get
today.
away from him. Can't get away from him.
The little police car that manages to go into the mother's room, which wakes her up. Like,
And there was another car as well, wasn't it? It was like
there was
what are they
loads.
called?
There was
Like a
there was like
drag racer.
there was like a duck going off. There was like how the thing is the fact the mother slept through all of that.
She just wants no part of it, Gillian. She wants, and there is a case for 70s parenting. Like he just wanders out the door. She doesn't seem that stressed. And she eventually runs after him. But even when she captures him, after like Roy nearly runs him over, and he's just like, dude, like he was right out in front of me. She didn't say sorry or anything. She's just like, well, that's kids. And even then, he gets away from her again and wanders back out into the middle of the road. It's like, come on, man, get a hold of your fucking kid. It's
even when Roy apologized the next day, I'm sorry, but she's like, oh, it's fine. Fuck it. It's fine.
If he gets hit by a car, he gets hit by a car. If anything, he's a fucking handful, to be honest. But to bring it back to the start of the movie, as I naturally would, I know you weren't so fussed on the opening. Like I said, with the pacing in this film, I was on board right from the off. I loved the sequence of out in the desert, those opening shots with Truffaut and like the World War II planes from the Bermuda Triangle. I thought that was super effective. Similarly, even though it's a little
too much
bit
sand
later,
for me, I didn't know what was going. They were all shouting and yelling, and it was just too much of a sandstorm thing for me.
there is, although this film cuts away a few times, and I think they're all super effective. So around 32 minutes in, you get the Gobi Desert in Mongolia sequence, where the ship in the desert. I think the random ship in the desert sequence they do something similar in Uncharted, right? Or is that it's in the jungle, isn't it? It's just randomly in the jungle.
So it's World War II. It's the U-boat.
Sorry. So they do something similar here. I don't know how they do the effect, if it's a map painting, force perspective, but it looks fantastic. It's just interesting that the boat is actually the SS Cotopaxi, which disappeared in 1925, but was actually discovered in 1980. So this was all disproved just a few years later, but it wasn't officially because they found the boat, the wreckage, in 1980, but they weren't able to officially confirm that it was indeed the SS Cotopaxi until 2020 via like additional work by marine biologists.
The aliens watched that film and went, fuck me, they're onto us. Let's pop this somewhere so we can disprove it. Yeah.
But one of my favorite sequences in the movie, without question, is when they briefly go to India, and it's a very specific location. It's in Dharamsala in India, and you get them all chanting the ba 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 ba. I fucking love that. I think like it captures the magic of movie making, if nothing else. The way it's shot, the audio when they go up on the hill. I don't know how that one dude gets everyone's attention immediately, but it feels like something out of actually Raiders of the Lost Ark when he's like, where did the sound come from? And you realize that you're actually the camera set behind them and you just see all the hands shoots up. I'm just like, fuck. That is
Oh,
like masterful movie making. Love it.
it was a good shot. I thought you were going to mention the lights as well at the beginning, with the lights in the sky shooting through, and
Oh,
you're
wonderful
following.
stuff.
Oh, wonderful! I did write down though. The
Mhm.
Wraith did that better.
He's going for the ring.
With the lights in the sky where it was
I
shooting down.
know.
The Wraith did that better.
It is something that Spielberg does amazingly well. I mean, he shoots locations wonderfully. We mentioned like both the houses, he shoots wonderfully. He
Yeah.
shoots suburban America fantastically. All those kind of wide shots. It looks very, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't look real. It looks very movie-esque, but there's something about, and it's the same with the special effects when it comes to the ships, because they look somewhat uncanny now. It lends itself to a certain timelessness. Yeah, they've aged without question, but there's definitely a charm to the effects. And
Yeah.
but I couldn't escape exactly what you said earlier. The fact that the ships look like they're straight out of Batteries Not Included.
Batteries Not Included, yeah.
They're just the bigger version of that.
Yeah.
But I love all those shots, and I love the fact that every time you have like the way he paints the sky, or more specifically the cinematographer in this film, the sky always just looks amazing, and there's nearly always something moving in the sky, whether it be like a shooting star. Sometimes there's just a little something moving. Like, is that one of the ships? I don't know. But yeah, gorgeously shot from back to front, and you really get that with the early truck sequence with Roy, where initially you think it's an alien and it's a bluff because it's a car behind him, and then it happens again, only this time the car, rather than pulling around him, just goes straight up in the air. And again, it's one of those sequences, it's absolutely shot like a horror film. In fact, sorry, go for it.
You mean the self-cleaning truck?
Oh yeah, of course, the self-cleaning truck. Yeah,
the glove box explodes, but when Roy drives off, it's spotless. He's got a fence post on it. Yeah, he's got a fence post on it, and then the fence post is gone. And if I mention that, it's the vanishing beer can as well. When he's seeing Devil's Tower on the TV, there's a beer can on the set. The next shot, it's gone.
Oh, you love these. He picks up all these, doesn't miss a trick. I'm just like, oh, so the cinematography is pretty good. Like, where's the beer can, you cunt? Where's the beer can?
Yeah, continuity. Fucking hell.
Yeah, you are a stickler for continuity and fairness. But it's shot wonderfully. And as I said, like so many sequences in this film, it really, truly is shot like a horror sequence. And the interesting thing is that sense of horror doesn't disappear. So right through to the end, and again, this comes back to the score, the way they shoot it is almost like, oh, okay, you've got this sense of wonderment. All the ships show up. They're all doing backflips. It's all lovely. But then all of a sudden they rein it in as if to say, we're still not sure about this. This could still go south. And that's true of like when the mothership shows up. I'm not sure if like the obvious comparison is Jordan Peele's Nope. The way it's kind of like stuck in the clouds.
I haven't seen Nope.
Basically, that's a spoiler alert. It's about a spaceship in a cloud.
Yeah.
So, they shoot it like that. And then when it lands, and even when the doors open and the aliens come out, the score suggests it's like, oh, you might be seeing something pretty fucked up. Yeah. And I love the fact that it runs that all the way through to the end. And I guess that would be your experience as very much as an adult. It's like, yeah, this is a spaceship. They seem cool. But if they decide we want to fuck you up, then we're going to be in big trouble.
I mean, and they're not very secure either, because I don't really see many of the soldiers there at the end.
No,
I don't see a lot of soldiers. Yeah. It's all just the scientists. So the soldiers are on the outskirts. It's fine. So not even the soldiers are allowed to see the mothership, which I'm pretty sure all you got to do is look up. The fact, like, how much of Wyoming did they have to fucking clear so nobody could see planet-sized spaceship rock up?
Wyoming is very. I'm not sure if you check. If you go to Google
Wyoming
Maps,
is large. I do understand that Wyoming is large.
When you look at those kind of states, and it's the same with like Minnesota, not Minnesota so much, but some of the kind of northern states. Like you look at it, and there's one big, huge road which runs like east to west, and then just a whole lot of fuck all. There's just huge sways, and I'm going to go on the assumption that the aliens knew what they're doing. Like we're going to be out their way, but still, it's not an unsubtle. Sorry, it's not a subtle spacecraft. Let's put it that way.
Not at all, and it's not very secure of a site either, because they've got the knockout gas, which I think. Now, thank you for telling me about that or reminding me about that, because that's fine. But not everyone's going to get knocked out about it. Case in point. But Roy and Gillian just rock up. Gillian grabs Bobby. Everyone else is being not interrogated. They're saying their names. They're marking them off. She grabs Bobby, fucks off back to the catwalk, takes a couple of pictures, and then she's gone.
Well, that's the interesting thing. So I actually disagree in so much in terms of like actually going there. Like I think especially back in the 70s where you don't have the internet and everything else, if you tell people there's like a chemical like, there's like a big chemical spill, and if you go into this area, you're basically going to die. And then, I thought the way they shot it was actually pretty ingenious in terms of like they're driving through towards Devil's Tower, and you
Yeah.
see all the dead wildlife, and obviously they've just either they've picked already dead cattle, or they've killed them and then put them on the side of the road. I'm
Well, they
like,
knocked them out, didn't they? That's what they said. We've used it on the cattle. They used
oh,
the knockout spray.
of course, sorry, I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
The only ones I'm a little concerned about. So I was like, well, that would be pretty effective. And, it works on them for all of his confidence. They do put on the masks, but they do have the two pigeons. So when they get out the car, the pigeons are still alive. When they come back after the scientist takes them out of the car and they come back around, those pigeons are dead. Did that scientist just kill those pigeons immediately?
I think he ringed the necks. I honestly think he fucking murdered them. Yeah.
Pretty gangster move.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do what it takes. But to your point, once they get to the site, they're all on the helicopter. Nobody's keeping an eye on them. And like you say, Roy, Larry, and Gillian, they just get off the helicopter.
Yeah.
Nobody stops them. They just, I know they try and stop them in the mountain, but zero security, which I guess arguably speaks to this is all kind of like off the cuff and they're just dealing with it.
It's not fucking off the cuff though, is it? They were very prepared. All the equipment that they had,
yeah,
they were so prepared. I love the fact they had air traffic controllers as well. Like the aliens are not going to let you see them, but we got air traffic fucking guys in there as well.
Seem surprisingly cash. The aliens, like when they come into town back in Indiana, they're just flying about. They couldn't be any brighter if they tried. A lot of people see them, and they just rely on the fact like, no one's going to believe them. No one's going to believe them. It'll be absolutely fine. So
no, because
I just don't think they give a shit about being spotted.
We'll make sure Farmer Bigfoot sees us and he'll just fucking do our job for us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
The other thing, sorry, the other thing that made me giggle was when all the pilots and everything come back off the spaceship, and you have, and like, I don't know why he made this scene so extended, but you have this the captain go, my name's so and so, so and so, my number is so, and it's like a conveyor belt. He says it to this one guy. This random guy comes in, shakes his hand, welcome back, moves him off, goes back, does the like, what are you doing?
I like the fact that
give him a cup of tea.
I know what you mean. I like the fact as well, because it's the 70s, so much of this stuff is tactile. Like when he, like you say, he comes over, he shakes their hands. There's like someone going over the speaker saying their names. And you have a board with all the pictures again on this expectation, like we're expecting them to be delivered. All this narrative is not known to us. So, like you said, it feels like they've already had an agreement with the aliens somehow where, we're going to have people who are going to go on your ship. And also, we're expecting all these people to come back because they've got pictures of them. And instead of like, he's just marking them off with a little bit of tape. And it's the same, when he finally gets his moment to shine, David Laughlin, beyond being an interpreter, he gets his cartographer moment. When they send the theme back into space, they obviously send them a bunch of codes, and he's like, these are
latitude, longitude,
latitude, longitude, and all that jazz. But even then, they're like, well, how are we going to prove this? And they have to go and find a globe. And it's all those I do love that kind of tactile.
I love that dude as well. Come on, guys, that cost me $2,500. And that one guy just goes, hoik, kicks the fuck out of it till it bounces off the thing. But I loved as well. Movies have have spoiled me for this because they're talking about the numbers and all that, and they're going fucking latitude, longitude, because it's always latitude, longitude.
Always. If there's numbers, it's latitude, longitude. Just get a map immediately. It's always that. Like, what else is it? And I love the fact that nobody else thinks of it. But this movie does rely on people not just making really obvious links. So you have the latitude, longitude. Thank God there's a cartographer here. Now, I get they don't know exactly where it is. This is the 70s. You don't have a mobile phone. But you've got Larry keeps making this kind of image, and he keeps what is it? What is it? Well, it's clearly a fucking mountain, dude. How about you just start with the fact that it's he never mentions the fact that, well, it's probably a mountain. You just keep seeing the shape. I'm like, come on, at some point, your head must click and go, this is probably a mountain. This is probably somewhere maybe I should go.
I love as well. He says, I keep seeing this shape, but he's not seeing the shape because every time he's the mashed potato, the mud, every shape he's making has a point to it.
Yeah, he gets very lucky. He gets very lucky.
And then when he finally makes, I don't know, Devil Tower scaled down model in his living room,
It's
That
very good.
doesn't
It's a
have a
very
point
good
on it.
model, in fairness.
Oh yeah, it's very good, but fucking hell, I mean, just draw it, dude. You've already proven you're a good drawer.
Yeah, like
Just
you said,
draw
he
the
can
fucking
totally
thing.
draw it. Although it does lead to one of my favorite, and it is a split diopter again, I think, is when he's having his breakdown and he's got the mountain there in the background and the TV is playing. And of course,
Yeah,
you can see the mountain on the
yeah.
TV with that in the foreground, that in the background. And he finally sees it. I was like, that is a cool moment. I
Oh,
do
it was a good
think
shot.
they
Yeah,
could speak, like, to your point again, that whole middle section in particular, especially if the first 30 minutes don't grab you. So the first 30 minutes really grab me. If they don't grab you, and then suddenly you get into what is the middle hour of this film, I can see why it might lose you or lose other people because
yeah.
it does drag on. And as I said, it's not so much it drags on, it becomes messy. Narratively, it becomes quite messy. And because you don't have that relationship to latch onto. So he doesn't really have truly a relationship with Gillian, for instance. His relationship with Gillian is based pure on just relief. They're just like, oh, thank God I found someone
Somebody
else
else. Yeah,
who believes and knows what I'm going through. And they have a kiss at the end, but I think it's totally platonic. I don't think it's romantic in any way. And because they don't give you enough between Roy and Ronnie, you don't really care when she leaves because you never really truly believe that they're in love. They're just kind of together. So that middle section gets a little bit flabby. And then, admittedly, I think we both agree once they get to Devil's Tower, it does really take off from there.
yeah.
Like when people think of this film, really what you think, like the last 30 minutes, I would go as far as say are nearly perfect. But I can totally understand the argument for the build up to it. It either grabs you or
Yeah.
it doesn't. But once you get to Devil's Tower, both the aesthetics, the score, the themes, it all finally comes together and really
Oh,
delivers a
I
truly
totally agree with
spectacular
that. Yeah.
finale.
I mean, never seeing this film before. I watched this, whether I say the wrong time or the right time.
Mhm, mhm.
I literally watched this after watching the first two episodes of Pluribus.
Oh yeah, I've heard this brilliant.
Yeah, it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed the first two episodes, so I will keep watching. But Alien send down a signal.
Mhm.
Again, it's just a load of and then you're able to decipher the signal, and it
Mhm.
makes us create something. And in this case, in Pluribus, it may or may not be good depending on how you look at it.
Sounds
But
like Contact as well.
yeah, it does sound like Contact. So
Mhm.
it's like fun, and it made me think. I don't know if I'd make something that somebody was sending me. I want to say you do your further investigation, but you can't
Mhm,
really do
mhm.
further investigation unless you. But I don't know. I just wouldn't trust it.
I
I
know,
wouldn't
and yeah,
trust it.
I guess like I do like the fact that they kind of sell you on the idea that there could be like literally thousands more people who were sent the same kind of like
Yeah.
image almost, but like you said, they just didn't know that the mountain was Wyoming. They weren't watching the TV that day. They were in another country, and they just had no way to get there. And it was literally just these like last two soldiers who find soldiers in the not
Yeah.
the literal sense, the metaphorical sense, I suppose, who actually made it there, which I thought was kind of cool. And maybe that's why the aliens are so stoked. It's like, listen, we sent this invitation to like 1,000 people. You're the only one who showed up. Get on the fucking ship, dude. Yeah, get probed. Maybe that's just the.
I think the other guys in the sunglasses as a consolation prize, but Roy, fuck,
Oh,
you
Roy
are,
is
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
getting it. I hope he enjoys it. And in fairness, like that is, I guess, the fundamental tonal issue with this film is just that idea. And again, I think that is the major sticking point. Even though, as not being a dad, I'm not as connected to the old idea that, oh, he's just left his kids and wife behind. I think that does speak to the lack of narrative kind of, I don't know, commitments in the middle section of the film between he and his wife, because he gets on and it's almost like, unless you have a kid, you just say, oh, well, of course he gets on. It's only when you stop and think of it and you're like, wait a minute, that's absolutely fucked. But really in this film, I'm like, do I really care about the kids? Do I care about his wife? Not particularly.
No, I get it. I kind of like, I kind of
It
do
is
though.
fucked. I'm saying
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's fucked, but
I
yeah.
mean, even to the point, I'm pretty sure they must have cut out a scene where he goes, "Anyone's gonna miss you, Roy?" No, I've got nobody.
I've
But
got
it says
nobody.
here you've got a wife and four kids. No, no, I got fucking
No,
nobody, mates. Yeah,
not
yeah, I'm
me,
good.
not
I'm
me.
good.
No,
Put me on that fucking ship and get me out of here.
he cannot fucking wait. Speaking of that final sequence, so he's about to get on the ship. There were two things I noticed with the score. One of them is confirmed. So basically, when Spielberg was making this film, when he was writing it, because they had different writers originally, they had a script, he didn't like it, so he was like, I'm going to write this. And it's one of the few films he actually wrote and directed.
Yeah,
But when he was writing it, he listened to When You Wish Upon a Star, the song from Pinocchio.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's in the theatrical cut, but certainly in the special edition, the director's cut, it's very subtly played into the score. So when he's getting on the ship, it suddenly goes into When You Wish Upon a
I didn't
Star.
hear it, but I wasn't really looking for. But I didn't hear it. I might.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
in I think it was
Okay.
something that was added afterwards. Actually, when they initially showed this film to test audiences, the credits had "When You Wish Upon a Star," but some people started laughing at it, and he was like, "Oh, we've got to get rid of this," and they went back wisely to the Williams score. The other thing I noticed, and I couldn't find if this is confirmed, I'm sure the Jaws theme briefly makes its way into the score at the very end. So it's got the usual score, but I'm pretty sure there's just a couple of times where but and then it goes back into the more so I wasn't able to find anything confirming that, but I'm sure it was a little nod to Jaws.
Roy's fucked. Roy's fucked.
Roy's fucked. Yeah. Maybe that was it. Again, it would perfectly fit in with the rest of the film. That whole idea that the score is telling you, oh, when you wish upon a star, you're going off with the aliens, but also, you might be in trouble, dude. You might be in trouble. But as much as he might be in trouble, and whatever happens on the ship happens on the ship, one of my favorite sequences, and I've not really mentioned, one of my favorite shots beyond Barry in the door is when you see Devil's Mountain and you get that wide shot and the ship is behind it.
Yeah.
And I know we have it like it spins round, doesn't make any sense. Who cares? It looks fantastic. Initially, the ship Spielberg created it just to be a black slab, and they actually created the black slab. So the whole idea of the ship was like it was just black. You couldn't see the outline, and all it did was black out the stars in the background.
Yeah.
But of course, when he filmed it, and they got as far as filming, he was like, well, this is the end of my film. All this build up to this moment, and it's just a black slab. So they rejigged it, and I love the use of practical filmmaking. It's clearly a collection of model kits a la Star Wars.
Yeah.
The ship looks fantastic. And when you get that wide shot and you get the mountain and the ship behind it, I think it is one of the more iconic shots in cinema history. But one of my favorite sequences is when the ship flies away at the end and you have the bum, 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 like the score playing, the credits. It's one of my favorite credit sequences of all time. Yeah. And for all the faults of this, and this film does have its faults, I think it absolutely just nails the ending. You think of how many films are like, oh, it was a really good film, but then it shit the bed at the end. This is the complete opposite. I get it. It gets better and better, and once you get it finishes with one of the finest crescendos of all time, I think. But
no, agree.
But at least we do agree on that for sure. Which is
cool. Should we move on?
So this is where we Rob's take. You mentioned it a few times. Have you already covered your Rob's take? This is usually where Rob picks out something innocuous that most folk wouldn't notice, but drives him crazy. You've listed a couple of them.
They were honourable mentions. I'll give you my actual Rob.
There we go.
The speed of Roy's UFO sketch. He gets blinded by alien light.
Whoa. I can't hear you.
Okay. Right, now I'll show what happened there. So in case it was only me that could hear myself, I'll go again. The speed of Roy's UFO sketch. Roy gets blinded by alien light. His truck goes haywire. His brain's melting, yet somehow he sits down, instantly sketches a perfect UFO with shading and perspective, but can't draw Devil's Mountain. That's not trauma. That's Bob Ross with PTSD.
It is. And I think that does, like you say, one of the major problems. It's like, why didn't you just draw the mountain rather than like pulling up your garden and kicking the fuck out your kitchen? It's like I said, that was the moment I lost him. I was just like, you can't be making that much of a mess. Like your family are going to leave you, dude. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't blame them.
No,
but so usually this is where we have best and worst of. We're changing this slightly from now on. Well, certainly if this is successful, it's fundamentally a very similar thing. But this is Oscar season, in which we pick any three elements of the movie worthy of an Oscar. But as you know, you cannot have the Oscars without the Razzies. So we will also be handing out 3 Razzies each, in the name of balance. So my 3 Oscars for Close Encounters of the Third Kind go to number 1, the score. But specifically, the Oscar goes to the most memorable, most effective, and emotionally resonating 5 notes in movie history. We've already noticed it, but when I think of it, and you said the same thing, when you think of this movie, you think of bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Like, even people who haven't seen this, if you hum that, they're like, I know it's from a movie. I just don't know what fucking movie it is. The second Oscar goes to Suburban America, circa 1977. There is something oddly magical and cinematic about suburbia in the 70s and the 80s. But American suburbia specifically. I assume you have a similar connection to it. It's something to do with, and a big part of this is Spielberg, and you think of like the Goonies of being another obvious one. But a lot of these films, they were just shot and filmed in suburbia, and there was just something compelling about it. It's very much that boomer version of what, the suburbs are supposed to be.
It's also completely different because the films of the 70s and the 80s, mainly the 70s, like Drugstore Cowboy, uh, oh, no, what was the cowboy one with John Voight and Dustin Hoffman? Midnight
Midnight
Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Midnight Cowboy, Taxi Driver. They're the city. They're the gritty, horrible city. And then you've got these fucking beautiful suburbia, as you say, and
Where
among-
magical
yeah,
things happen,
yeah,
apparently.
exactly.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And the third Oscar goes to Richard Dreyfuss. Just one, he's not just the fact that he's very good, but I like the fact that he's like this kind of leading man that you just don't get anymore. Like these weird looking everyday leading men. Like you think of like Humphrey Bogart, Dustin Hoffman, even like Walter Matthau, or I would even say to an extent, Tom Hanks. Like we just take him as like a leading man now. But you have to remember, like it wasn't like a done deal. It was just because it happened so quickly. Because for the longest time, he was like the comedy foil, and he doesn't look like a traditional leading man. It just so happens that between like 1992 and 1997, he had one of the greatest runs in cinema history, and all of a sudden he's winning all these Oscars, and he's just a leading man. But I like these guys who don't look like, they could just walk past you in the street. You wouldn't give him a second look. And the point is, he just looks like a dude, which absolutely works for this film. If they made this film today, it would be, you think even Spielberg fell foul of it. A movie similar to this, the much darker version of this, is War of the Worlds, which released in the early 2000s. It's a largely very good film. I'm a big fan of it. I know you're not a big fan of Alien Spielberg films, but I do, especially I think the first half of that film is wonderful. I think the second half goes off the rails. But who's his everyday man in that film? Fucking Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Who does look like a movie star.
At all, yeah.
At all, exactly that. And I do have to, I'm going to sneak in a fourth Oscar.
Already?
I know.
You came up with this.
I know. I thought you might be upset by that, but I have to just say the main Oscar goes to the last 30 minutes of this film, which, as I said, I do think are nearly perfect. So I apologize. I really should have got that down to 3. My bad.
So I thought about this. I've got a bit different than you, but we'll stick with it. It's fine.
No, go for it.
So my Oscars. So number 1, the best use of mashed potatoes in a dramatic role. The winner,
Wonderful.
Roy Neary's Dinner Plate. Nothing says I'm losing my grip on reality like sculpting Devil's Tower out of spuds while your family watches in horror. It's peak culinary existentialism. Number 2, the Oscar for the most patient alien life forms goes to the Mothership Crew. They travel light years, hover ominously. They play a 5-note tune for hours and still wait politely while humans fumble with synthesizers. That's intergalactic diplomacy. And number 3, the Oscar for the best use of flashlights to induce existential terror. The winner, The Abduction of Barry. Beams of light creeping under the doors, screws unscrewing themselves. Spielberg weaponized a torch and a toolbox to traumatize a generation. I think that's great. Yeah,
it's interesting that I came up with the idea for the Oscar and the Razzies, and you've actually nailed what it's supposed to be much better than me. I think because I'd already written down them in the kind of more traditional loves and hates, and then I've basically just added Oscar to the front of it, whereas yours make a lot more sense. Hopefully, my Razzies feel more like Razzies. So the first Razzie goes to that first weird ass alien who looks like he just got off the set of the thing. It just doesn't look like he belongs in this film. They make such a big deal out of him. Like he comes out, he does the arm thing.
Yeah.
Again, the score really leads you there because you're just like, this dude looks fucked. Because it's not just the arms. When he gets out, he's all spidery and shit. Yeah. And then the score tells you, it's like, no, he's cool. Everything's fine. The second Razzie goes to the Razzie for throwing shit through the window and having an art attack in the kitchen when you could have just done it in the fucking garden.
Yeah.
Absolutely unforgivable. And the third Razzie goes to Ronnie for not having Roy's back. Now, I know this is linked to what I just said for the second one. She did, by the time he's throwing shit through the window, you're like, all right, fair enough. But she never has his back. When they go to that meeting, I'm like, just throw a little bit of support, Ronnie. Have your man's back for just a minute. If she has his back all the way through, and then he starts throwing fucking plants through the window, and she's just like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm like, fair enough. She never has his back. Never has his back.
So, that leads perfectly into mine. So the Razzie for the most neglected family in a sci-fi film. The winner, Roy Neary's Wife and Kids. I mean, when Dad starts bin diving for shrubbery and sculpting Devil's Tower in the lounge, maybe it's time for a serious intervention or at least a group chat. I just honestly think that
Oh yeah.
you might want to talk. Yeah, not yelling. The second Razzie is for the least secure government operation. The winner, the secret alien rendezvous site. They figure
Mhm.
chemical disaster, scatter dead livestock, and still let a guy with mashed potatoes on the brain sneak into the most classified event in human history. Top secret, more like top civ.
Yeah, yeah, no, you are right. Everything you've said there is absolutely bang on. It is the most important moment in human history, and he just strolled the fuck in. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fucking Larry almost made it. Larry almost made
Larry.
it. That
Fucking
fucking
Larry.
moron. If Larry can make it, anyone can make it.
And number three, the most questionable parenting decision. The winner, Barry's mum, letting him wander towards glowing UFOs. Your toddler's giggling into the woods toward mysterious lights, and your plan is to just shout Barry and hope for the best. That's not parenting, that's plot convenience.
Yeah, I mean, 70s is just, latchkey kids. It was, but in fairness, Barry's what, like 4 years old? And she's like,
Yeah.
Barry, don't wander towards the mysterious light in the middle of fucking nowhere.
No.
Jesus Christ, all very chill. Any alternative titles to this film? I mean, there was one before it got made, obviously, but I'm sure you've got those covered.
Yep. Give me a second. Right. So Azerbaijan had third degree intimacy.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not the porno version, or?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so. China, the third type of contact. China's not the third type of contact. It's the
Yeah, again, it sounds quite erotic again. It's like,
yeah.
the third type of contact.
East Germany, the uncanny encounter of the third kind. It's
A little
just
bit better.
uncanny. It's uncanny.
Yeah, a little less porny at least.
Finland, tertiary connection. We are not alone.
Jesus Christ.
Hungary, third type of encounters.
Not amazing.
India, the third type of encounters is called Mathu.
What the fuck?
Kazakhstan, close contacts of the third degree.
Sure. I mean, slightly better, but not great.
Yeah. Spain, encounters in the third phase.
These are all really bad.
Yeah, they're not good, are they? United States working title was Watch the Skies. Is that the one you're on about?
Well, there was Watch the Skies, and then I think I mentioned earlier that there was an early screenplay draft by Paul Schrader, which Spielberg hated, but that was called Kingdom Come, which I think it was called that right up until kind of production started, and I think it briefly was Meeting of the Minds, which sounds fucking terribly. But when I think of this film, I think of as the kind of major alternative title is Kingdom Come.
That's it for alternate titles. Should we move on to facts?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of genuine alternatives were okay. Kingdom Come, I think, speaks to if you kind of read it, I won't go into it, but the outline for the original script, an idea of this movie is very different, and it kind of makes sense in that realm. But in terms of the film that ends up on screen, Kingdom Come doesn't really work. But yeah, facts. I just want to throw in one quickly because I want to ask you a question. So this was the third biggest movie of 1997 with a global box office of a little over 300 million. I'm sure you can guess what came first in 1977.
Oh, fucking.
Said like someone who truly doesn't give a fuck about Star Wars. Star Wars was number one. Oh, as I was saying, I was like, oh wait a minute, no, Rob fucking hates Star Wars. So yeah,
okay,
it's fine.
I didn't have a clue.
Star Wars was a bit of a layup. I'll be amazed if you got what beat it to number two. So 1977, what could have come second in 1977? This came as a genuine surprise to me. I knew it was popular. I had no idea it was this big a hit.
No.
Burt Reynolds, Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit, fucking hell.
Fucking huge hit, man. Like it was, and it was a slow burner. It was released and it did okay numbers. Then it was released in the southern states, did pretty well. But even like the I assumed it would have been like really US heavy in terms of the box office.
Yeah.
It was like 120, 130 million done in America. The rest was made up globally. So this was a huge hit. And he's just one of those stars, for people of our age in particular, we just missed the boat on the whole Burt Reynolds thing. Because I know there was Deliverance and stuff like that. But I don't think most of us appreciate just how big of a star he was in the 70s. There was a brief period where he was probably the biggest star in the world. And Smoking the Bandit proves it. Absolutely massive. So sorry, that was my one random.
No, that's great. That's I didn't have a fucking.
If anything, the hidden fact there is, in case you need a reminder, Rob really doesn't like Star Wars. So that's the other fact.
I genuinely didn't even know what year that was out. Genuinely. Right. So during the Neary dinner scene, just before Roy piles on the mashed potatoes, the little girl Sylvia says, "There's a dead fly in my potatoes."
Mm.
This was unscripted and almost caused the rest of the cast to laugh. The scene was kept as is.
Very charming.
Carrie Harry Guffey, who played Barry, his performance was so good that they only had to do one or two takes of each shot he was in. He became known as One Take Carrie. On the set, and director Steven Spielberg had a T-shirt printed up for him with the phase written on it.
Class. That's
Yeah,
what you
even
want.
a 3-year-old being a one-take kid, absolutely. The film is shown every night at the Devil's Tower KOA campground, thereby making it one of the most screened movies ever.
No, it's pretty cool in Venice. Yeah, I mean, even if you're not a fan of this film, someone's like, "Do you want to watch Close Encounters of Devil's Tower?" Like, that might be pretty cool.
The John Williams score was created before the film was edited. Steven Spielberg edited the film to match the music, a reverse of what is usually done in the film scoring process. Both Spielberg and Williams felt that it ultimately gave the film a lyrical feel. That's what I was on about when I said the music was made before. It was made before editing, not made before the film.
Mm-hmm. Well, you feel it in the film. Like, I'm not sure there are many movies where the score is so integral to the movie's success. I just can't think of many films where I'm just like, like there are some films where you become like aware of the score at certain aspects because it lit. You think of like, I don't know, another film you don't like, Gladiator or something like that. But I was aware of the score for this film from beginning to end, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. Stanley Kubrick was so impressed by Cary Guffey's performance that he wanted him to play Danny in The Shining. However, Kubrick didn't get him for the role because of schedule conflicts. Guffey was filming the Italian film The Sheriff and the Satellite Kid and its sequel Everything Happens to Me. So he cast Danny Lloyd instead. Can you imagine if he was in The Shining as well? My deadbeat dad thing. This poor fucking kid's dealing with all deadbeat dads.
I mean, right.
No, Barry wasn't. Yeah, Barry didn't have a deadbeat dad, did he? Oh, he might have.
No. Yeah. Well, that would be the ultimate test as well of his one-shot credentials, because if you're going to make fucking The Shining with Stanley Kubrick, for those who don't know, that film is famous for all of his films are famous for the multitude of takes that he would ask every actor to come in. I just love the idea that he just rolls into The Shining and he just does everything in one take, and it's just like he does it for fucking Kubrick films as well. This kid's a genius, unbelievable.
The words that the crowd in India chant are Aya Rai Aya, which means he has come in India. In Hindi, sorry, not in India, in Hindi. Richard Dreyfuss had become quite interested in the idea behind Close Encounters of the Third Kind when he heard Spielberg talking about them on the set of Jaws. When Dreyfuss heard the casting for the film was underway, he made a concerted effort to persuade Spielberg to take him on.
Cool. And just to be clear, sorry, you just said that. I totally forgot to mention favorite scene. We just didn't do favorite scene.
Do you know what? We haven't. Let's finish this off. And then we'll
I was just going to say, it was in my head. That's all.
Ray Bradbury declared this the greatest science fiction film ever made.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
What else do we have here? Became one of the first films to have a special edition director's cut made when Spielberg wanted to improve his original vision. Mm-hmm. For the scene where Richard Dreyfuss appears to go weightless in his truck in his first encounter with flying saucers, his truck was put on a turntable and rotated 360 degrees.
I was actively thinking about that when I was watching the scene. I was like, I turned him upside down. It looks great. Very effective.
Yeah. I won't go into any more because there's loads for this film, but I will, as I'm talking, I'll just go straight into my favorite scene. So mine is Barry's abduction.
Yeah, go for it.
For me, it's just a masterclass in suspense and visual storytelling. The eerie use of household objects, the light, the sound creates one of the most unsettling yet beautifully staged sequences in sci-fi. I think it's great, that abduction. And
actually, that probably is the correct answer.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Though it's a wonderful scene. It's beautifully shot. As I said, it works both somehow. Like, it very much works as a horror, but there's you get the sense as well, the way Barry walks into it, that he's not actually in danger, and the way it kind of pulls that off is almost miraculous. I've only mentioned the last 30 minutes, especially with the spaceship behind Devil's Tower. But the one for me really is the scene in Dharamsala in India with the chanting and everything. I just feel like there's something truly magical about that. It almost feels like it's from a different movie, the way it's filmed. Something from The Exorcist or something like that. You think of those early shots in that film. But I absolutely adore that. But on any given day, it could be any three of those. They're all absolutely fantastic. Hope to the Future. This is where ask the question: remake, sequel, Let It Die, or Leave Well Alone. I mean, to my mind, it's Leave Well Alone. But as you already mentioned there, Spielberg does love Tinker in this movie. There was the special edition, the director's cut. I mean, the 50th anniversary is just around the corner. Could we be in for a Blade Runner style final cut? I suppose. When this initially came out, there was a lot of talk about potentially having sequels to this film. And it does lend itself relatively well to a sequel, but I'm glad it just kind of exists on its own. So I would just say leave well alone personally.
I'll say leave well alone as well. As much as I was quite bored towards the end of the film, not so for the middle, as we've already said, it was just getting a bit boring for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still shot pretty well. It has a great premise. I just, yeah, I'd leave it alone. I don't think it needs anything. The only sequel I'd want to see is Roy crawling out of the spaceship with a probe sticking out of his ass, telling people not to fucking go anywhere near them.
I mean, tonally, it would be a very different movie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But do you think you would have benefited? Because I say this about a lot of films. Do you think you would have benefited if you'd watched this film and say in the cinema? So I always say it's like there are certain films where I'm like, it was good watching on TV, but because it's long and it's somewhat meandering, like as brilliant as say like 2001, A Space Odyssey, to bring it back to Stanley Kubrick. It was wonderful watching on the TV, but it is quite slow. It is meandering, and there is this like fucking 45 minutes of just psychedelic stuff. And I did find myself kind of drifting in and out of it, as brilliant as it was. And I was just like, if I was watching this in the cinema, I would be so locked in because there's no distractions. And even if it is meandering, I would be just caught up with the visuals and stuff. And I think I wish I'd watched this in the cinema. And I feel like this is one of those films where I would much prefer it. Like as much as I enjoyed watching on TV, I think it would benefit massively from me being locked into a cinema screen.
So agree. I do think watching it in cinema would have had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think though, watching it when I was younger would have had a better impact. When
Gotcha.
Life has not beaten me down, and I'm skeptical about every fucking thing. You know, this is the kind of film where it makes you the wonder of out of space and things like that. And so I think watching it as I was younger, I would have had a better impact on me. Watching it at 42 for the first time. Yeah, probably not.
I see what. Yeah, because if you like, it is a fundamentally different experience. Like you say, watching it for the first time because you're asking all those questions. Like, wait, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Whereas I've seen this, you know, even though I haven't seen it for a while, I have seen this film a lot of times, and I don't have to. I can just kind of let those elements almost wash over me because I know what the story is. I know where it's going.
Yeah,
so I totally get it. It is a different experience watching it for now, and I think it would have been especially beneficial. Like you said, if you watch it as a kid, fair enough. But watching it for the first time as an adult. I think this is one of those ones where you probably would have had a much better experience watching it in the cinema. Obviously, we'll never know, but it is what it is. Maybe if we could get to Devil's Tower, watch it there. Who knows? In terms of making a change, so this way, you know, if you could make one change to make the movie better, I wouldn't be surprised if we're on the same page here. It's refine the pacing in the middle section, and certainly. Like I appreciate what he's trying to do with the structure, but it's a bit too messy. There are too many cooks on the non-ordinary person side of the kitchen. Does that make any sense? Probably not, but you know what I mean. So, you know, you can have the Gillian, you can have, you know, and Roy and his wife and all that jazz. And then I get you need to have something with, you know, Truffaut and the government and stuff. But that side of the film, as much as I like Truffaut, I'm like, I don't really know what any of the relationships are. So I don't know what the relationship is between the scientists. I don't even know who's a scientist, who's with the United Nations, who's with the government. You know, I only know if you're a soldier, if you're dressed like a fucking soldier. So all that stuff just becomes messy. And I think there is a spell around the middle where it starts dragging the film down slightly. So I'd kind of work on that.
Yeah, no, to be fair, that is the right answer. That's not the answer I went with, but that is the right answer. So I went with fix Roy's exit. Give Roy more emotionally grounded farewell before he boards the mothership. I know Spielberg later admitted the ending lacked emotional.
I was going to say, I think you say I'm right. I think Spielberg probably agrees with you.
I mean, it'll add depth and humanity to Roy's arc. It helps the audience empathize with his decision. It'll balance the wonder with the responsibility instead of him just going, "Fuck those mouths I got to feed. I'm off. I'm gone.
I'm bouncing."
Done. Yeah,
it is interesting because I watched it growing up. It's obviously not something you think about when you're a kid. You're just like, well, he gets to go on a ship with aliens. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You do watch it differently as an adult, where it's like, wait, dude, what about your wife and your kids? And of course, it doesn't have the same impact on me because I've still got that relationship with my film that was established when I was fucking 7 years old. Whereas you're watching it as like a 42-year-old and you've got a kid. You're like, fucking hell, Roy, you piece of shit. No wonder you're comparing him to fucking Jack Torrance.
I do love how he murked all of his responsibility and just went, this, I'm done.
I just love the fact that, like, I'm watching the film. I'm like, oh, yeah, Roy is a bit of a dick. And you're just like, I'm going to compare him to Jack Torrance. Who is worse? And it's just like, well, yes. Completely justifiable question.
Yeah.
Best and worst of IMDb. So, oh, sorry, video games first. I'm jumping around too much. So,
You are, yeah.
unsurprisingly,
You
the
changed
Oscar
up
section
the
is
loves
fucked
and
me.
hates, and it's fucked you, fucked
It's
you on.
absolutely fucked me. Video games. So no video game, but there was a pretty cool looking pinball table. As to whether it was any good, I couldn't tell you because I'm shit at pinball, but it did look cool. I said it a few weeks ago, but the perfect match for this, I still think, is Firewatch by Campo Santa, or Campo Santo, I think it is. Like a semi-interactive walking simulator built around your home life, the hills of Indiana, and the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. I don't think I need to have like action sequences. I just want to live in that world, and you can just kind of explore that. You have those interactions with the aliens, but it is more visual rather than, again, interactive.
Yeah.
You're just kind of moving from place to place. You can have like a pretty simple driving section when you drive off to Wyoming, but it doesn't need to be particularly taxing or anything like that. That's what I'd go for. I don't think I need anything any more action packed than that.
No, it makes sense. I went with Firewatch by Campo Santo. I mean, it feels, yeah. So I mean, why it fits, I guess it's about isolation, obsession, the pull of something bigger than yourself.
Sorry, wait. You were saying that in a tone. You do realize they just said the same game, right?
Yeah. I was just
Okay,
being
that's cool. Yeah.
I was being a dick.
Cool.
That's all. I was just being a dick.
Fantastic. I was just like, well, sometimes we do this where it's like one of us is talking and the other one kind of like you start looking at your notes, and I go back. I'm like, well, I don't know what you said, but I'm going to say something. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I heard everything you said, but usually I get excited or because I usually go second with these things. And you've taken the game that I was going to say. I'm like, oh, boo! But I thought, no, I'll just be a dick and just pretend I didn't hear you on this one and just go again.
I mean, I think it is the right kind of answer. It doesn't have to be that game, but the way you kind of travel around the woods and stuff in that game, and there is that kind of like that slight hint of danger. I think you just turn it up, but yeah, I think it's the correct choice. Best and worst of IMDb, so where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review. But first, I try and guess how many written reviews there were for this film. I think there's going to be a lot. 462.
Oh, dude, 577.
See, I'm still over 100 off, but that feels like at least I was in the right ballpark because I've been miles off the last few weeks, in fairness. 10-star reviews, I think there'd be a lot. 110. No. What's that?
146. Sorry, I said it before you said no.
No, that's okay. Because I was actually going to go down. So I'll stick with 110.
Right, so this was written in August of 2023, titled Magic Lives Here. Especially in the first half of the film, where we get to know Roy's dysfunctional family and in the ultimate apotheosis of musical communication. But in essence, it is a human film about a family man, a misfit, alone on his own island, who has never known or been comfortable in his own skin, in his place in the world, and who seeks, like many others, an explanation, someone who understands him, who feels as he does. Like all of us, he is searching for a meaning that can't quite explain what it is or where it is. And maybe he'll discover that even those aliens don't know as much as he'd like. I like better a version in which at the end we don't see the alien in detail, but we see the interior of the ship through Roy's eyes, in which we can distinguish in the thousands of windows, thousands of beings looking curiously at us. At Roy, it's a huge city. It's an ending that seems to me, to be more mysterious and leaves more to our imagination. Rating, more than 10 stars, like a dark, starry night sky.
That's interesting that you preferred the version with the special edition. I think that is with the interior of the ship, because I think most people just weren't a fan of that. But each their own. Fair enough. In terms of 1-star reviews, there can't be that many, because even like I get why some people wouldn't maybe be as crazy about it, but 1 star seems very harsh. I'm gonna say 17.
22.
That was pretty close.
Yeah,
that's pretty close. Give myself
right. So this was written in March 2011, titled "Space Aliens Kidnap My Baby." Space aliens invade Indiana and kidnap a 3-year-old. It is not clear why the power goes out and household appliances go berserk when the aliens approach. It's also not explained why those who have seen the alien ship suddenly become obsessed with a mountain they have never seen. In fact, there is no rhyme or reason or anything that goes on in this unbelievably stupid film. Spielberg has made a few turkeys in his career, but this is surely his worst. His script is totally nonsensical and becomes increasingly tedious before reaching an utterly ridiculous ending. It turns out the space aliens are star babies from Kubrick's 2001, except that they have now become creepy toddlers. So I understand what he's saying. It's a lot of the questions I asked, but there's no explanations for a lot. But this guy is totally, basically, he's me from a week ago, I think, where he was just said this film shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, if you don't get on with it, you don't get on with it. I think, going after, like, I understand your issues with the film where, like, they don't explain a lot of what, like, as you said, the government and all this are doing it. They just kind of happen. But going after, it's like, oh, well, the lights turn off. With the aliens, dude. It's just fucking aliens. That's just what happens in films. Yeah, it's just, the answer is aliens. Just, but whatever, if you don't like the film, you don't like the film.
yeah.
And they really do not like the film. Which leads to our own ratings and recommendations. Now, I was tiptoeing around this, and I understand why a lot of people some people consider this to be Spielberg's masterpiece. And, if someone gave this a 5-star review, I would totally understand. For me, watching it in 2025 specifically, I think it's a 4-star film. I would still recommend it. I think it's a great film, but it's not without faults. As we said, it does have its pacing issues. The structure is something you need to kind of get on board with, but I would still recommend it, and it's still a 4-star for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But
So I'm not going to give it a 4 or a 5 or anything like that. And I think 3 would probably be too much with the questions I've had with it. But I don't want to give it a 2 or a 1. It's 2.5, dude, for me.
That's fair enough. I think that fits
like I
with
said,
what you've said in terms of
yeah.
you weren't on board, you lost interest for a bit, it wins you back over towards the end. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But if I had to recommend it, I probably would say yes. Could just for the ending scene, for the shot of the ship, the soundtrack, things like that.
Or even just like
But
those moments, like you said, like, I know we've criticized the middle of the film, but in the middle is the sequence with Barry and the door. And it's just like, it's almost worth watching just for a hand. Even if you hated the rest of the film, there's like 4 or 5 scenes in this, which are so iconic and so wonderfully shot. You'd be like, listen, even if you don't like the rest of the film, those 4 or 5 moments make it worth the price of admission.
I mean, yeah, and you can clearly see Spielberg doing what he loves to do in this film as well. So absolutely, as much as I laugh and I joke and I say Spielberg can't do space films, well, technically he wasn't in space, was it? But you can see what I'm saying. Alien films is more what I'm trying to say. I just, yeah, I would recommend it. There are things to watch with it, and you'll probably like it more than I did. But it's definitely, for me personally, a 2.5 star.
It's interesting actually that the last review said, "Oh, Spielberg's had his fair share of turkeys." I'm just like, has he? I was trying to think. Then I was like, other than 1941, which I think is genuinely seen as his major misstep, I don't think he's had too many turkeys. I mean, some people don't like Kingdom of Crystal Skull, which, as we've covered on the podcast, I think for an hour is a genuinely good film. It shits the bed in the second half. It is what it is. I don't think it's a turkey. It's, relatively speaking, it's not as good as the others, blah, blah, blah. I can't think of like a genuinely bad film that he's made other than maybe 1941, which proves, and I don't think he's ever gone back and made another broad comedy. He can't do broad comedy. I think that's maybe the only thing he can't do. But his track record is pretty good. Even, we mentioned the fact that since like 2006, whatever it was, that he hasn't had those same like truly 5-star movies. But if you think of films like Ready Player One or West Side Story is actually really good, or even stuff like the BFG, they're not like great, but I don't think any of them are bad.
Did he direct The Lost World?
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's fine. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. If you're going to claim turkeys, that'd be a stretch, but that would be on there. Maybe AI, but I mean, you can't blame him for that. He's trying to bloody not rescue, but carry on a film that was already shot.
We're going back to Stanley Kubrick again, because Stanley Kubrick kind of wrote it and then he's directing it. And it's weird with AI because the opinions on AI, I feel like they keep going back and forth. I feel like people and the critical response is warmer now than it was back in the early 2000s. And it's a movie I always kind of like liked, but with a huge number of caveats. I think it might actually be quite an interesting one to do on this podcast, because I mean, if you ask me now, like how I feel about it, I'm like, I don't know. You
can clearly see where the directors take over. Like where they switch over.
100%.
The other one, and this is again,
you mean after the kind of Jude Law Gigolo sequence, probably.
The other one, the other couple that I think, and this is only from me personally. I can't. I mean, maybe Munich. He's on about maybe Lincoln, but I don't know.
Lincoln won Oscars. Munich's a great film. Yeah, and again, it's like, if it's not your cup of tea, fair enough. But I was just thinking back, just because when you mentioned it, I was just like, has he actually made anything which I think most people would say is objectively or definitively bad beyond the aforementioned 1941? I was just like, I don't think so. I don't
No,
think so.
I don't
But
think
anyway, for another day, that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's been 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was my choice, unsurprisingly. Next week, sir, your choice. What are we going for?
Yep. So I'm going to give us a different film before we jump into Hugmas because
Of
that's
course,
coming up
Hugmas
soon. Yeah.
is in the post. Yeah, Jesus
We got
Christ.
one more
Christmas
film
season.
to we got one more film to go before Hugmas. So
Sorry, I just want to say one thing. I was tiptoeing around the idea because I was looking at Christmas films. I was like, maybe Jingle All the Way. We bizarrely ended up watching Jingle All the Way on the weekend. It was just, when you come home, you're not really doing anything, and then just on the TV, a movie starts. And I was talking to Bethan, and Bethan had never seen it. Bethan being my wife, she had never seen it. So we're just talking our way through it, and the film just keeps going. The next thing you know, we're just watching Jingle All the Way. The film is ass. The film is fucking ass.
I mean, we can't anyway because we've already come up with an idea for Hugmas season this year. I mean, we'll say it now, but it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
We're going to go for I guess alternative types of Christmas films. So we're going to go like Christmas themed horror films or Christmas themed
action films or something.
Films, yeah. So so we're going to do that. But anyway, going back to my choice, the year is 2012.
Okie dokie. I'm going to need more than that. 2012 is pretty recent.
I mean, I'll give you the plot synopsis about a cop going into a building and getting locked
Dread.
down, and
it's Dread. It's Dread.
I was kind of hoping you were going to go for the Raid, and I go, fuck you, no, the other one.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Fuck you, dude. If you see the Raid,
I mean, that was harsh. That was harsh.
That was really harsh.
I love the Raid. I love the Raid.
That was the one issue, and we'll mention it next week when we obviously cover Dread. But like, Dread is brilliant. But I watched it like so soon after watching The Raid, and The Raid was genuinely one of the most pleasant cinematic experiences of my entire life. I went in with high expectations, and then when I started watching, I was just like, "Holy fuck, this might be one of the greatest action movies of all time." And then you watch Dread, and it's so good, but you're just like, it's kind of like The Raid, but it's not quite as good as The Raid.
It's watching Deep Impact after you watch Armageddon. It's like,
it really is. It really is. And I like Deep Impact, but it's exactly that. Oh, unbelievable. But no, despite, it's not even a criticism. Like, it's not the movie's fault that it came out a few months after The Raid, but Dread is awesome. It is legitimately, from memory, one of the better comic book movies ever made. I'm not saying the best, but I think it's in that conversation.
Oh, I think it's one of I would say it's one of the top 10 adaptations of comic book films. Absolutely.
We're gonna have to have that conversation next week. I'm actually looking forward to that. Our top 10.
So the
reason
of all time. Reason why I've picked it, obviously, because I want to watch it again. But we've already done Judge Dredd, so we said
just to be clear, you can go back and listen to our podcast on it. It's loads of fun. However, I think it's fair to say that is not one of the top 10 comic book movies of all time.
But we did say on that one it'd be great not to compare them, but that will happen.
Yeah.
But to see them turn around and go, "Oh, we can do this better," and they clearly do it better with a less budget, I would say.
Yeah, I can't think of another superhero character who was like, they've had a movie, they've kind of shit the bed, and then they've kind of like totally fixed everything that they did wrong.
Unfortunately, it definitely wasn't Hellboy because that got progressively worse.
That just got progressively worse. Yeah, that was like the complete opposite of this.
All the love for David Harbour's Hellboy. I like that film. A lot of people don't. I'm probably in the minority with that film.
I think I got upset because I really liked David Harbour as Hellboy.
Yeah,
but I hated the film around him. That was my issue.
I thought the film was, but I'm more forgiving for that. But Jack Kesey's version of the Crooked Man. Wow.
I mean, you went in, fair play to you. I think that was one of those examples of just kind of wishful thinking, because I remember we watched the trailer and I was just like, shit, that looks so bad. And you were like, oh, I could be okay. And I watched the trailer again. I was like, no, I don't think this is going to be okay. And it was so... I made it 20 minutes into that film. I was like, that's enough. I don't need to watch anymore.
What should as going back to Harbour's Hellboy as well, what should make you think, what should be a red flag about how this film is going to be, is if you cast Mira Sorvino in it. Because bless her, if she's in a film, it's not going to be good.
It's such a shame. I used to have a bit of a crush on her as well, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a great sign. Yeah, that's one of those annoying. Like the most recent Hellboy, you just look at it and it's like, but the casting was terrible, the film's terrible. It's like what drove me crazy about Harbour's Hellboy is that I thought the look of Hellboy, I loved Harbour's Hellboy, and it's like they've done the hard bit. And then I just thought they made so many mistakes around it. And it just, they're the things that grind my gears when it's like they've done the hard, like, this is a bizarre example, but we keep bringing up Stephen King on this podcast. We've mentioned before our feelings about The Dark Tower. And what truly drove me crazy with that film, I don't think it's quite as bad as some people say, but they got so many of the hard bits right. Like, I thought the casting was wonderful. And yet somehow the film just didn't. I was just like, what? How have they fucked this up? They've got all the ingredients for a good film, and then he just made so many stupid choices that completely derailed it. But yeah, those are the films which really get up my nose. But anyway, we're not covering that. We're covering the much more successful, critically successful Dredd, commercially not successful Dredd.
No, unfortunately, and it really upset me when I was looking for it and I realized it was 2012. Like,
I know,
13 years ago.
Back when it was like the 3D craze, that was like one of the films they really pushed in 3D. I remember that because I went to see that in the cinema in 3D, and I remember the drug sequences being very cool.
The drug sequences and when he pushes her out of the window. Spoiler alert.
Pretty dope. Pretty dope. But anyway, we'll talk all about that next week. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, mate, it's been a good one this week. I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, feelings aside, I've really enjoyed it. I think it was really good to visit Close Encounters. I do enjoy watching films that I've never seen for this podcast. 9 times out of 10, I'm probably not going to like them, but it's always fun to find those hidden gems.
What can you do? He's a man who's stuck in his way. I feel like we've kind of nudged you slightly over to my side of the fence as the podcast. Only a little bit. I think I'm convinced in this like hour and a half podcast, I've nudged you from a 2 to a 2.5. I'm convinced.
You've got to feel a little bit proud because I thought we mentioned Superbad last week, and I went into the tirade of just saying shit. But I don't know. I thought, I just can't keep doing that to Liam. I'm going to break his spirit. So I thought more about this film as I went on, and just
I stopped and thought about my feelings, and it turns out they're in there somewhere. Unbelievable. Anyway, just before we go, a reminder that if you come this far, do leave us a review on the podcast platform of choice, share and like all that nonsense. But I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you've been listening to the Here You Guys podcast. See you next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.